Hey guys, most of you don't know this about me, but for a good portion of my sexual life, premature ejaculation was a problem that I suffered with. The fear of orgasming too quickly with a woman was a constant shadow that loomed over me. And I know I'm not the only guy with this problem. A quick peek at Google and YouTube search patterns clearly show many men are concerned with how long they can last in bed. Now, there are more than enough videos by a large variety of qualified doctors on how to prolong your orgasm that anything I say on the technicalities there would be moot. But I'm willing to bet one of my perfectly healthy kidneys that if you went and interviewed a bunch of women I slept with in my 20s, the most of them would have considered me a pretty good sexual experience, in spite of my premature problem. And this is what I want to talk to you guys about today. As always, give me a like if you enjoy my videos and subscribe so you don't miss any more in the future. So one of the problems with being premature is the shame and embarrassment we feel around it. In fact, I've known many men who avoided picking up women altogether because they were too scared to get into bed with them and get exposed. It's also a self-perpetuating problem. The more we worry about orgasming too quickly, the more likely it is to happen. So, what was I doing differently that many guys with premature ejaculation weren't? Well, first of all, I learned very early in my 20s to stop focusing on the sex itself as the main event. I learned that I could sidestep sex as the main event in many circumstances and have her walking away feeling really sexually satisfied. We men place too much emphasis on penis and vagina sex, and we tend to get all stuck on our heads about it. So there are a couple of things that you want to start getting good at. Number one, playing with her sexual brain. Guys, fantasy is a powerful thing, and most of the points in this video use this idea as a starting point. A woman's enjoyment of sex is largely situational. It's not some magic thrust of the hips or angle of entry, even though some women will have some preference around sex positions and aggressiveness of intercourse. Good sex is about creating context. When a woman is in sexual context that she finds uniquely sexy, a slight puff of warm breath can get her pulse quickening. Number two, learn to get comfortable asking women what turns them on. Seriously, I subconsciously have this conversation with most women before we ever enter the bedroom. Pay close attention to what she says. This may or may not sound obvious, but just letting women tell you what turns them on is the easiest way to get a roadmap to her body. Now, before I go on to further points, I just want to give a quick shout out to my sponsor, myself. If you don't live in Sydney or Gold Coast, Australia, and can't attend one of my in-person coaching events, I highly suggest you sign up for some one-on-one Zoom coaching. I've been doing this for over 14 years now, and there isn't a situation that I haven't seen. I'll put a link below to register for some sessions. Number three, get comfortable with mild to moderate sexual power play. So most of the time when you ask a question from point two, some form of power dynamics is going to come up. Either her being powerless or completely in control, or maybe a bit of both, and she's a switch, like I happen to be. The relatively simple act of being ready and willing to play a power dynamic with a woman is already going to set a very strong signal to her sexual brain that this context is very sexy indeed. Now, I made a video with a couple of very dominant sexual fantasy games you can play with women, which I'll link to here if you need some inspiration. Number four, focus on oral sex. Now, this shouldn't be a surprise, but you've got to get good at it. Now, if you've got no idea where to start asking women what they like. You don't have to ask it like a lost puppy, like, oh, I don't know what to do. How do I go down to a woman? You can ask it like a confident man who wants to know what turns on this particular woman. You know, just stop after a few minutes of going down on her, look up at her, and say, so tell me, what would you most like me to do with my tongue down here right now? Try to look as mischievous as possible while asking. Most women will obligingly tell you what they want done, Or they'll just start begging you to keep doing what you've already been doing. Either way, both of you win. Number 5, know when and how to make women feel sexy. The more sexy a woman feels to you, the more aroused she's going to get. But obviously this is a timing thing. You can't just say to a woman in a bar, "Hey, you're so hot, you're making me all hot and sweaty. I'm craving you so badly right now." Because that's poor timing and won't turn her on. In fact, it's probably going to turn on her stranger danger buttons. But if she's already in a state of arousal and the sexual temperature between the two of you is high, letting a woman know how sexy she is to you will be powerful. Women will regularly return to men who make them feel the sexiest. They'll also orgasm the most easily with men who make them feel the most sexy. And number 6, plenty of women can't orgasm the first time with you. Or at all, sometimes. Be okay with this. Don't put pressure on her to orgasm. That makes sex unfun for her. If you've been going a while and you aren't sure if things are progressing, just ask her, "Would you like me to keep going?" It doesn't necessarily have to have anything to do with you. And if she couldn't orgasm from you going down on her, it's very unlikely she could have orgasmed from sex with you anyway. No, seriously, guys, you know what the biggest complaint is that I get from women about the guys they sleep with? It isn't that guys aren't lasting long enough. Although, of course, I hear that sometimes. But that is largely overshadowed by the problem that it's guys aren't paying attention to what women want. To women, it feels so often like the guy goes into sex autopilot and does this sex routine that he thinks he's supposed to do, rather than trying to read where she's at and engage in dialogue around what turns you both on the most. Dialogue around what she and you find sexy can be a very erotic form of foreplay for her, and you, spoiler alert, and it gives you a perfect roadmap to pleasing her. For myself, playing games, indulging in power play when it's a turn on for her, listening to what turns her on the most and acting on it, enabled me to have premature ejaculation for years and still have many casual sex partners wanting to see me repeatedly. Of course, you don't want to have premature ejaculation forever, and there really is a lot that you can do to battle it. But I'll be honest and admit I never did anything specific to treat mine. It just sort of faded on its own over the years. But don't get caught up feeling like you can't please a woman just because this issue happens to exist for you right now. As always, guys, if you like this video or want to add a point, please do so in the comments below. And ladies, if you're watching this video, I'd love your input and thoughts as well. This is one of those areas that men and women need to dialogue together a lot more often. Until next time, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you in my future videos.